Okay, so I have this knife ready to go into the furnace for heat treatment. And I know when I left off on my last video, I said that I was going to bring heat treatment and finish next. But I got to thinking, there are a lot of steps between where I left off and where I am now with this knife. And I thought it would be nice for Brian to see those different processes. And not too detailed, but I did touch on every one of them somewhat. And I ended up with about 20 minutes of video. And 20 minutes on YouTube is a long video, so I'm cutting it in two. This is the first one, and then I'll upload the second one kind of back to back. It's just as soon as I get finished editing, which all you creators know, you know that editing is probably the longest thing we do when making a video. It takes longer to edit all this video than it actually does to do these steps, but I wanted to do that, and just so he can watch the knife in the making. And I don't know how long the videos are going to be around on YouTube. That's up to Google, but perhaps some of Brian's friends or family might want to watch this knife being made, so I thought that would be a nice little touch. So anyway, we will go into heat treatment with this later today and finish this knife, and of course that's going to be video, but that's going to be in 2 videos from now, from this one. So we'll get it finished and show you guys the steps all the way down to the sheath making, and then we'll see if we can't get this to Brian. So anyway, you'll notice that down here it's still rather rough, and I want that. This is going to have to be the area that epoxy adheres to, and in fact, before heat treatment, while I can still easily cut this, I'm going to take a checkering file, a real fine one, and I'm going to score some uniform lines down to give that epoxy something to really grip onto, and then it's going in the furnace. But other than that, we are up to a 600 grit hand finish, and you'll see that coming up, how I do that. And we're going to turn this into a knife. Right now, just a piece of steel. Okay, I'm getting ready to drill the holes for the guards and locate those, and I do that while everything is still flat, and I haven't ground any bevels on anything. And also where the end of the guard material is, that's going to guide my tang bevel down, so it begins right here at this line and goes back. So what I do is, this is where the paper pattern gets kind of mutated, but just to show you, I locate it just according to the pattern, and then I place guard material on that line, and then I place this, and this is a hardened, it's actually a filing guide, but it works well for this. And I bring that tight up against the guard material and then tighten it, and then that is set in stone. Really, that's not going to move. Then I locate my guard material on here, and I do this basically the same way that I drill my handle material. So we're going to go over to the milling machine, and we're going to spread the vise open to where we can straddle the jaws right here, and it's going to be a flat registry here and here. Okay, so I'm set up over here on the mill to drill and then ream the holes for my guard pins. And what I did, this is a 3/32 bit. I put it in here first and just went down using these holes as a drill guide and just kissed the stainless guard material in each hole, and then I took this out. Now this is a number 43. It's a few thousandths under 3/32, and if you need a hole to be accurate, you drill under, ream to the size, and that's what we're going to do here. But I used this just so it would accurately give me a dimple. It's a center drill, so to speak. So I know that this smaller bit is going to find center and go through, and then I can ream to size. So we're getting ready to do that. So I'm pushing down flat to register on the vise. I'm letting the work float just a little bit until that little bit finds its center dimple, and there it goes. And then just very slowly down through. I filled those hoses with oil, so the bit has lubrication. All I do is back out a little bit, let some oil flow in. The stainless steel machines pretty well. break through gently. Then we're just going to move over and do the other hole. There we are. Alright, now I'm going to put this is probably the smallest little reamer in my index, 3/30 seconds. I'm going to put this in here, slow everything way down. I'm going to ream the holes. Then I'm going to flip everything over after we put another piece in here. We'll put 3/30 seconds locator pins through all of this up from the bottom to hold that in place. While we remove our clamps, we'll add the second piece using this clamp as a guide. Clamp it all back up, flip everything over, and we're going to do all this again from the opposite side. Okay, I've slowed everything down to about half speed from what I drilled. And I'm trying to keep my arm out of the camera here. There we are. So I'm just going to let the work float, let the reamer find its center. There's one hole, and then we're going to come over and we'll do the second one. There's plenty of oil on everything. And using this bit that's just a few thousandths under axle size, I don't give these little reamers a lot to tackle. They're delicate. Okay, so we're done with the reamer for right now. Now we're going to get everything set up with the second piece and come back when we're drilling that. Okay, that's what the setup looks like so far. And when I said about reaming, I had to drive these little pins in with a tiny little hammer just to locate them, and they were just coming through the other side. I kept them flush so I can get my other piece on there. So we're going to put the other piece just right on this, and then clamp everything, and then we're going to drill back through these holes to get the other side made. I have everything flipped over, and again, I'll try to keep my arm out of your face. Alright, so I've got the holes filled with oil, and this is just basically the center drill part of it. We're referencing off the hole, letting it float, and I'm just kissing the stainless on the other side. That makes a center dimple that the other drill will follow. Now, this bit's job is finished. This step's pretty important so that when your guards go on there, if you're looking at the knife from the top view or something, that your edges are going to be, they're parallel. That's important. Your name's going on this knife. Alright, a little more oil. And then just easy down through. There we go, there's one. You have to be careful with these tiny little bits. Back up and clear your chips out often. Don't let them jam in there. You'll snap this little bit. through on that side. And now we're just going to ream like we did before, and see you back over at the bench. Alright, so now we're ready to pin these in place. I could do some more layout with them. And these, as I said, these little pins right now have to be driven through, and that's exactly what you want. You notice you use the tiniest little hammer that you have. You don't want to bend these pins. I have my finger on the back side, and I'll just stop when I feel the pin. There we are. And as I said, these pins are going to be the ones that I'll be using throughout the construction. When I go to rough shape the guard material, get everything pretty much down to finish, and then I'll make new pins for the final assembly, because these at some point will be ground flush to the guard, and they won't be long enough to do what I need to do. So I'll drive them out with a pin punch and make new ones that we will peen into place. Okay, and copper jaws on your vise. Real important in a knife maker's shop, because I probably leave these on here 90% of the time. I have a Craftsman vise over here without any protected jaws that I use for rougher work, but I'm always putting finished material in and out of this vise. These copper jaws really save your butt on stuff like that. So now we can unclamp everything, and we can take this guide off. So there's our guard. Now we can kind of grind this thing down almost to where it touches the blade, get everything into the rough shape. Okay, I've taken this down just about as far as I want to go with. This is an 80 grit ceramic belt, and it's pretty aggressive. So I've got this rough down, and I'm going to go to a finer grit now and just kind of work the lines in. But you want to do most of this before you get any other finish work done, so you don't ruin that fine finish. But I want to get that just to where everything is flush. I'm going to do that on a smaller grit or a finer grit belt. And touch this up, and then we can take these off and pin them together, and then I want to finish this face here now, because you're not going to be able to get in there and do that after the knife is constructed. So yeah, it's the first time I've used these ceramic belts. They're supposed to last longer and cut cooler. And honestly, when I was working this, it didn't get so hot to where I couldn't put my hand on it. So I do like that. So we're going to carry on and just keep doing. Okay, I've turned that fan off just for the moment. But I've done a little more rough shaping. But this is the stuff you kind of want to get done now before you get everything together. So I just put a little bit of a radius this way on that finger groove. And we're going to do more after we get the handle material and everything on. But that I consider rough work, and getting it out of the way now. And then we've ground the pins flush because we've sloped these forward a little bit. Now we left them full width back here to get the handle material, and that's going to be ground flush with the handle. but I wanted these to kind of slope forward a little bit, and then when I take these off and pin them together, I'm going to radius this corner. And that's why these were only temporary pins, because they're ground too flush now. So we'll knock these out with a pin punch and put them back together, and then we're going to work on this surface. Not enough pin here to grab with my fingers. So you have to chamfer the end of these pins, or they won't start in that hole. And that's how tightly these holes are reamed. There we go. Okay, so now they're together, and now I can continue to work on them. I can get all the final shaping done and get this surface finished, and then when they go back together and go on the knife permanently, there's not going to be a lot of work to do. Okay, I've been working this down, and I don't know how clearly it's going to show up, but that's about the level of polish I want to take it to in that area where it gets in close to the knife, and it's too risky to try to take it down and shape it when it's on the knife. There's just not a lot of room to for buffer there to avoid your knife blade.